What's up, y'all? It's Zems, and welcome to another live stream. If you guys haven't already, be sure you swoop down the description box, comment link, go watch these videos in their entirety, because I'm going to be pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. Thank you guys so much for all the help, all the support, all the love you guys have been showing me. It's greatly appreciated. Also, on top of that, for those of you that have been asking for me to start a Patreon, I have started one. I'm kind of still getting familiar with it, so some of the prices are kind of experimental. It's not super high, but it's not super expensive either. But it's also not gonna like destroy your wallet. But just head over there and check it out. I'll leave a link down in the description. I think it's there now. You can go check it out and see what I have to offer with Patreon. The only thing is, I think the normal one, which is like $3, is just going to be some of the stuff that we couldn't do here, like movie trailers. Still can do like BuzzFeed. I don't have to worry about copyright strikes. And then you also got like music videos and anime clips and stuff like that, where I don't have to worry about getting copyright strike. I want to see how it turns out. It may be a thing, it may not be a thing. So I would just advise you to probably just stick to the regular $3 one, general support. If not, if you guys are not going to be partaking into the Patreon, just know I'm going to be still uploading on YouTube as well. So you're not going to be missing out on too much. But 9 times out of 10, if it's copyright and it's going to probably block my video, then it's probably going to be on my Patreon. What else? I feel like I'm missing something. But we're going to be getting into Dr. Bob, which is SCP-027. I think it's the Vermin God. Private Man told me to check that one out. We got Mr. Ballin. I think it's Disturbing Backstories Part 22. Mr. Nightmare's Postmate and Uber Stories, or is it Lyft and Uber Stories? And then we got Nightmare Files, 3 true scary stories with video footage or something like that. But yeah, man. But for now, let's get it. That last one was kind of okay, but I think I still hit that high note though. Don't question me or don't quote me on that. But I felt like I hit the high note. But yeah, man, if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me throughout this thing, and then yeah, have fun, enjoy. That's about it.
A young man steps off the subway into the station. Like many others on their daily commute, he has headphones on and keeps his eyes glued to his phone as he messages his friends, plays mobile games, and watches videos. He takes the escalator up and out of the subway station, paying no mind to the rats that scurry past down the handrail. He steps out onto the street, head still never looking up from his phone. He's made the same trip hundreds, if not thousands of times, each step of his route home so burned into his mind that he could make this journey blindfolded. He turns a corner when, suddenly, he looks up. There's something different. In the split second before everything goes wrong, he realizes what it is. The grate he has stepped onto has just given way. The young man screams as he falls through the loose drainage grate in the sidewalk and is swallowed up into the bowels of the city. He is in the air for only moments before landing with a thud in the darkness below. The air is knocked out of him, but he's immediately aware that he didn't hit the ground as hard as he could have. Something must have broken his fall. It's too dark to see anything, though. He feels around for his phone. It must be around here somewhere. There, he's got it. The screen is cracked, but luckily, it still works. He turns on the flashlight and looks around. He appears to be in some kind of maintenance area below the sidewalk. The room is mostly empty. So what did he land on? He sits up and looks beneath him to find rats. A huge pile of rats. The young man screams and hops up as the rats squeak and scatter. He's in a panic, looking for a way to get out of here as quickly as possible, when he spots something else. There's a pile of dirty clothes in the corner of the room, or at least he hopes it's a pile of dirty clothes. He slowly steps towards whatever it is. Even after his own harrowing ordeal, he still feels compelled to check it out. If he just found a body, the police will need to know, and he might even get his name in the paper. He can see the headline now. Local man finds missing heiress after heroically plunging into city's depths, inherits her millions for some reason. As he steps closer, he notices a cloud of gnats and flies buzzing around the pile. He slaps at his neck, killing some kind of biting fly. He's standing right next to the pile, but he still can't tell if this is a person or not. Hello? Are you okay? The young man asks. No response. He nudges the pile with his foot and jumps back.
That wasn't even a nudge. He kicked the shit out of that, whatever that was, bro. He's just asking for it. How you gonna think it's a dead body? You're not sure if it's a dead body or not, and you're gonna go over there and kick the dead body. On top of that, you fell on a pile of rats, bruh. I'd be worried about some kind of disease or something, because I know kind of adrenaline, you probably didn't feel it, but if you land on a pile of rats and that kind of like hurt them, they're going to bite in response. So I'll be kind of more concerned about diseases than getting my news or my name in a newspaper or something like that. But that's just me. I don't know. What's your biggest fears? I know mine's is spiders. I think you guys know that already. But let me know. My mom's is like roaches. But I don't see how people can be scared of rats. But then again, if you're from New York, y'all got them big ass rats, bro. Them shits come with like ID cards and stuff like that. So I kind of understand if you're scared of rats, because the rats there get like huge. Like they be riding the train and everything. Like they be taking seats, all that.
He feels something move. He sticks out his foot and nudges it again. The pile definitely moves this time.
Yeah, messed up.
A man rolls over, his face covered in bug bites. He's moaning and reaching out, unable to see from his blind eyes that look like they have been gnawed out by rats.
Kick him again.
He opens his mouth and with one last gasp, appears to die right in front of the young man. The young man can only watch, frozen in fear, as a rat wriggles its way out of his open mouth and stares at the young man. The young man screams, turns, and runs.
You want the smoke?
He doesn't know where he's going as he runs through the dark tunnels, but he finds a set of stairs and follows them up before bursting out of a door into the open air. He slams the door behind him. He's sure the man he saw in the tunnels died, but he's not taking any chances. He runs the rest of the way home, taking the stairs up to his apartment 2 at a time. He gets into his home and locks and bolts the door behind him. He leans against the door and tries to catch his breath, letting himself slide down to the floor. Finally, safe at last.
Call the police.
He slaps at his neck again. Another fly. It must have been in his coat. He takes off his jacket and shirt, shaking them out, and is surprised to see more flies come out, but also other bugs like worms and cockroaches. He keeps shaking, panicking now, as more and more bugs fall from his clothes.
Why in the hell are you shaking it off inside your house, bro? Like, my first thing, if I'd have went like this and this shit would have fell out my jacket, bro, I'm throwing the coat outside. Why the hell are you shaking it off and letting them things fly around in your house? And now you're going to have to sit there with them.
He can see in the mirror on the wall that his body is covered in bites, but that's not what really has his attention. He gets close to the mirror, almost in a daze. This can't be right. He must be hallucinating. He looks in the mirror, reaches into his nose, and pulls out a cockroach. Flies crawl out of his mouth as he opens his mouth to scream, while behind him, rats start squeezing in under his door and crawling up his body, until he is completely covered in a living, writhing mass of vermin. Many of the anomalies studied by the SCP Foundation are cruel, horrific, and utterly mysterious. And this is one of the rare cases that embodies all three. Because this is SCP-027, also known as the Vermin God. SCP-027 is a phenomenon with strange and frightening properties that seems to affect one human subject at a time. When someone becomes a host to this anomaly, they will find that they are constantly surrounded by swarms of various types of vermin, parasites, and other pests. The human host has no ability to control or command these creatures, and in fact, the animals will often show aggression towards the host, biting and scratching at them as well as any other person who comes near. It is unknown what causes this effect, but once someone has become a host to SCP-027, the effect appears to be permanent.
Bro, it's like an advanced stage of lice. Like, this is like lice part 2 or lice level 2, 3 or something like that, because this is insane. It would be kind of cool. This whole time I'm thinking like Vermin God. I thought like this dude was like on some Spider-Man type shit. He went down there, he got bit by whatever that was, horsefly, botfly, whatever it was, and then freaking he comes back and he can control the rats. But the thing is, they don't even control him. Like, they get mad at him and they bite and scratch him, and it's just like, if you're gonna get mad, why did you kind of infest, like, you know, my body in the first place? Like, why don't you just go back to the sewer? Like, sewer, why are you attacking me because you mad? Like, I didn't ask you to jump on me.
The swarms of vermin that follow the host do not appear instantly, and instead tend to follow the same pattern of showing up in waves. First, swarms of flying insects, including gnats and flies, will begin to form a cloud around the unlucky individual. Next, non-flying creatures such as lice, cockroaches, worms, spiders, and rats will begin to crawl on the host. The more time that passes, the more of all of these that will appear.
Oh no.
Should the host try to leave the location, Some of the pests will attempt to cling to them or follow behind, but many of the others will disperse. As soon as the host stops again, though, the process will repeat, and they will once again soon be surrounded by bugs and rodents.
Like jump in water or something.
While there is no way for a host to rid themselves of the SCP-027 anomaly, the phenomenon has been known to be transferred to a new host, but only following the death of the first. It appears that 027 will continue to jump from host to host, and has likely done this many times in the past. Preliminary research into just how long SCP-027 has existed is ongoing, but early signs point to it having existed for potentially hundreds of years. SCP-027 was first identified by the Foundation when, in the 1990s, a male in his late 30s was found in an abandoned warehouse that was completely overrun with rats and insects. The man was filthy, malnourished, and covered in bites and scratches from a variety of pests. He also showed symptoms of deteriorating mental health, likely caused by a combination of heavy substance abuse and sleep deprivation, neither of which were unexpected, given his horrendous circumstances. The anomalous properties of the subject were quickly recognized by field agents, and he was brought to an SCP Foundation site, where he unfortunately died while still under observation. An autopsy later revealed that over 70% of the man's body at the time of death consisted of a colony of rats that had nested in his abdomen and had been living there long enough to produce at least several generations of offspring. Around 6 days after the man's death, a Foundation security officer at the site where the man had been held reported to medical staff that he was experiencing breathing issues. He told them they began after he had been woken up by what he thought was a housefly crawling up his nose, and he did remember the fly coming back out. Later investigations would reveal that this statement was true, and that the fly laid a clutch of eggs in his sinus cavity as well.
Bruh, that's a freaky fly. That fly went in his nostrils, got busy, and laid all these eggs. And they got a whole nest in your intestine, bruh. That was nasty. That made me grab my nose for a second. I would turn to you, same boat. Look at you in the channel glistening. Hey, thanks to y'all, man. I appreciate it. What's good, Jordan? Yeah, man. Like, is it me or my loss? Because I'm kind of trying to figure out who's SCP-027. I get it. It's the infestation. So if it's just like, is it like a person that we can't see? Or is it just the horde itself? Because I'm not understanding. Like, what is SCP-027? Like, is it like an entity, or like, what is it? Like, I don't understand. Yes, it is torture at this point. Like, you're just getting eaten alive until you pretty much just die, pretty much. It's the horde itself. Hey, appreciate it, man. Much love to Sweden as well. It's the horde itself. Okay, so my thing is, if it's so many rats, how the hell do they contain because you can make more than one horde. If they capture it, it's a lot of rats, bruh. So are they saying all rats are SCP-027, or is just a certain horde? Like, I'm not understanding how you tell which rat is a part of the horde and which one's not. It's some condition that can have it and attracts rodents and bugs to you. Huh. So it's like rodent herpes, pretty much. It's like something like that. Okay. Alright.
The security officer was placed under observation, and following the appearance of more types of vermin, he was classified as SCP-02702. The man who died was then reclassified as SCP-02701, and SCP-027 was redefined as an anomalous effect rather than one individual. It is still unknown just how SCP-027 attracts animals, or why it chooses the ones it does to summon to its location. Neither SCP-02701 or 02 have expressed any communication with any kind of entity or the feeling that one was present, and were unable to provide any additional information on the mysterious qualities of the anomaly. In an interview that took place not long after the security officer was identified as a host and placed into containment, he only described feeling dirty and itchy, like he needed a shower. He was deeply frightened by what was happening, and expressed the desire to rid himself of the anomalous effect as soon as possible so that he could rejoin his family. Research into the anomaly continues, but analysis of the current host has been inconclusive at best. The lack of understanding about just what SCP-027 is, how its anomalous effect functions, and how it jumps to a new host has led the SCP Foundation to classify it as Euclid. The current host for the anomaly is being held in a 5 by 5 meter cell with a raised graded floor that is connected to a strong vacuum system. to trap any vermin that appear. Any creatures that are removed from the cell are to be incinerated, except for a small portion which are sent to research teams for analysis, though so far, all animals have appeared to be completely non-anomalous in nature. SCP-02702 is to be monitored by at least 2 Foundation personnel at all times, and in the event that the subject exhibits any odd behavior or an unexpected species of animal is discovered in the cell, it is to be reported to a Level 4 personnel immediately. Security personnel assigned to 027 duty are to be vaccinated against all possible animal-borne diseases and have permission to subdue the subject with tranquilizers should the need arise. Should the subject appear to be experiencing a serious medical event, all high-value personnel should be moved far away from the current host to lower the chance of them becoming a host to the anomaly. And no personnel of Level 4 clearance or higher should approach within 200 meters of the subject at all.
Bro, this is too many instructions, bro. This is way too many instructions. But now just imagine, I don't know if you guys seen it, but I said, ooh, I was just imagine you have to go to the restroom. You gotta pee, man. Ooh, that mean the bugs coming out your butt and your pee hole and stuff like that, bro. Or when you sneeze, you get like flies in your, oh man. I can't even imagine, bro. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. It probably just attracts any nearby. Man, I wouldn't even. Yeah, I'm glad I ate before this. What did you eat? For real, if I was his relative, he'd just get in a card for me. This sounds like, yeah, I don't know. It's too many rules, bro. I would have forgot. I'm getting scared. I ain't gonna look at flies the same
until SCP-027 and its strange properties are better understood. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, and ow. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single anomaly as we delve further and further into the SCP Foundation's classified archives.
Yo, I bet y'all won't look at mosquitoes and flies no more the same. I guarantee you that much. I'm 100% sure after this video you guys won't look at bugs the same. Because if you think about it, it's a lot of bugs. If they just decided to one day, you know what, let's attack humans, like what can we do? We will legit get destroyed, bruh. Oh man, I can't even imagine. They said spiders and it was like a little koala thingy or a little thing came out of nowhere. Shoot. So which one y'all want to see next? You guys want to see? Y'all want to say Mr. Ballin for last? You want to do Ballin next? Or we got Mr. Nightmare and we got Nightmare Files, or it doesn't matter because I usually say Mr. Ballin for last. But if you guys want to see it now, I can do that too. Up to you guys. I'd rather just die at that point. That dude probably is a lot. Yeah. I don't know. They made it seem like it's not painful. None of them be screaming or nothing. They just be sitting there. I don't know if they just numb from taking pain for so much. Mr. Ballin. Unfortunately, I can't do BuzzFeed. I already have the 4 videos picked out. I can't do BuzzFeed because it's going to get copyright strike and it's going to block the whole live stream. Okay. Mr. Nightmare. Alright. Yeah. But be on the lookout for more BuzzFeed. It just will already be on the Patreon. But I'm also going to have it on my channel. But it's going to be uploaded faster on my Patreon than it would on my YouTube channel because they block it and then they unblock it like 4 days later. So usually when I record BuzzFeed, you guys, it's done, but you won't see it until 4 days later because I have to wait for them to be like, oh yeah, here, you can use it. Rampage Jackson was good. Just throw the current host in fire. No one else will get infected. That's true. All right. This video is 3 true to start. This video is 3 true to start Postmates DoorDash stories. So if you guys haven't already, you should subscribe. Finally, watch the video to the entirety because I'm going to be pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. This video is by Mr. Nightmare. If you don't know who that is, then you're in the wrong place. But for now, let's get it. Let's go. Also, a fact about DoorDash and door deliveries. I be seeing these videos, bruh. You know people do it. It's a habit. You know people go, you're like, hey, I want Chick-fil-A. I want McDonald's, Burger King, whatever it is, Raising Cane's. You know deep down inside, if you get a combo, the first thing people do is what? They look inside the bag, they take a fry, and they roll the bag up and they put it to the side. You know people do it. You probably done it before, your mom, sister, brother. You always seen people do it. They always take a fry or they taste something. I just don't trust people. Also, people don't be cleaning their car. People's cars be dirty and horrid with roaches and man, people don't be washing their hands. Like I don't know. I'm like real picky when it comes to that kind of stuff. But let's get it. Where people eat part. Where people eat. Story 1. Going to McDonald's.
For a very brief 2 months,
Sorry, my bad.
I worked as a delivery driver for the app DoorDash. It was to make some quick money on the side on the weekends. I live in a suburb of Nevada, so deliveries are usually quick and close.
Appreciate you highly. Appreciate
Someone
y'all.
made a big order to a local burger joint, and I accepted the delivery. When the food was finished, I loaded it into my car and checked the destination on the app. It was a house across town in a cul-de-sac.
Nope.
I tended to drive quickly over the speed limit to get more deliveries out, aka get more money. When you drive like me though, you're bound to get into some trouble once in a while. And this time, as I was driving up the block towards the cul-de-sac, I saw the sickening glow of the blue and red lights in my rearview mirror. I pulled to the side and got written a ticket for more money than I'd possibly even make that night. It was a horrible feeling that I'd spent my night doing deliveries only to end up losing money. Still, I had to finish this delivery.
I'm sorry, I keep pausing it, but speaking of tickets, bruh, the state, Europe tickets compared to state tickets, not even a question. Europe, you get like points on your system. So I mean, I got caught speeding like 5 or 6 times, and each ticket was like $20, $15. Like it was like dirt cheap. But you get points on your license. If you get a certain amount, then you can't drive for a while, like 3 months or something like that, which was a good rule in my opinion. Boy, you get caught speeding in the States, that's like a whole down payment on a car, bruh. 100%. That's like a car note, bruh. Them tickets be ridiculous.
Albeit a bit late now. After the cop got back in his car, I drove right down towards the cul-de-sac. I got to the house, ran towards the front door, and knocked really hard since there was apparently no doorbell. As I waited for the door to open, I looked around this dark cul-de-sac. I say dark because there weren't any streetlights, only the small amount of light that was given off by the 3 total houses sitting on the street.
Red flag.
It was a pretty unusual dead end. Not a nice looking spot by any means.
Red flag 2.
The house wasn't exactly the prettiest either.
Red flag 3.
The door finally opened, and an average height bald guy opened the door.
Red flag 4.
He had a grayish beard with brown stains in the middle. His body language and way of behaving was immediately weird, screaming drunk or a drug addict. To top it off, his breath was awful as he said, "How you doing?" in his loud, obnoxious voice.
Ooh.
He told me to come in. I told him no, it's okay, as I held out his bag of food, waiting for him to grab it so I could leave. He said, no, come in, I got something for you. I told him, really, it's okay, I need to be on my way. He said something along the lines of not being able to tip me through the app, so he'd have to give me some cash money. Against my better judgment, I entered the house with his food still in my hand. I heard a car pulling up into the cul-de-sac as I stepped inside. As soon as I cleared the door, the man slammed it shut and told me to follow him to the kitchen and to put the food on the table. For some reason, even as uncomfortable as this guy made me, I followed him into his disgusting, messy, smelly kitchen.
What's good, Ubi?
He went into his basement and told me to wait there in the kitchen.
Alright, man. I'm sorry. I can't. I know you guys get tired of me pausing. That's why I tell you, you gotta watch the whole thing in your entirety. But, like, come on, man. If your better judgment told you, we already know this. I tell you guys all the time. If your first mind tells you no, don't go in there, bro. If you want to tip me, you can just go grab it real quick and then bring me the tip. Like, wouldn't you? Or, like, just have that sense. Like, if you knew I was bringing your food, right, and you knew you were going to tip me, why wouldn't you have the tip when I got there? Why would you wait for me to get there and be like, you know what? I'm going to give you a tip. Let me go and get it. Like, you know you can't tip through the app, so why'd you give me a tip? Look, I'd be like, here, bro. Either take your food. He'd be like, oh, no, just come in. No, I don't want it. Okay, no, just come in. All right, here, bro. I'm going to sit it right here when you need it. All right, have a good day, sir. I'm out. I'm not about to go in your house. I don't know what kind of misery swim fan type shit you got going on in the house, bro. I'm not playing that game. I do DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever it is, and I'm just gonna peace out, bro. Either you're hungry or you're not. I'm not about to sit there and just keep trying to give you the food. You telling me no, and plus you bald with a stain on your shirt. Like, nah, bro. And your breath stink. Nah, bro. You can't be tipping if your breath smell like that. Obviously, your financial choices are not that great because you're not using toothpaste or Listerine or anything, gum, Tic Tac, whatever it is to enhance your breath. You're not using it, and you're gonna tip me? Nah, bro. Heck nah. A lot of red flags. What's up, Moore? How you doing? Bro, I'm not gonna do what is he? Facts. I'm late. You all good? I'd be like, I'll pay for it and run. No, this dummy. Bro, I don't even know what to say. Trust your instincts. It just sounds sketchy, bro. I'm telling you, if I ever needed somebody to help you out, bro, just message me.
He shut the door, and I heard him stomping down his steps. I stood there feeling awkward, but also nervous.
Get ready to run.
There was a short silence, and I stood there looking at my phone, texting a couple friends about what I was experiencing currently. Suddenly, there was a huge crash from down in the basement.
Right.
It sounded like a big shelf holding a bunch of smaller items toppling over, followed by what was a scream for help. It seemed as though the man was hurt by whatever had fallen down.
Don't do it.
I ran to the basement door and opened it, and to my surprise, looked down to see nothing but darkness. Not a single light was on. I called down into the basement. You okay? I heard the man moaning in apparent pain in the darkness below. I asked where the light switch was. Instead, he just kept saying, help. I used the flashlight on my Samsung to start walking down the noisy, creaky stairs. As I got maybe halfway down, the man's moaning sound stopped, and it was completely silent. I stopped as I realized how silent it had grown, and asked if he was still okay. There was no response. Suddenly, I got a really bad feeling in my gut.
Oh, now?
Something wasn't right.
Oh, wow.
I heard a small cracking sound from in front of the steps, like a pebble being crushed against a concrete floor.
Oh, he's sneaking up the steps, bro.
Then, there was a loud knocking at the front door upstairs. I turned and ran upstairs to open it, and it was the cop who had pulled me over about 5 minutes ago. He was holding something familiar, 2 folded pieces of paper clipped together, asking me if it was mine. It was, and I grabbed it from him. But I also told him in obvious distress that I thought something strange was going on with this man who I just delivered food to. I told him it sounded like he got injured downstairs, but that it also seemed suspicious. I showed the cop to the basement door, and with his hand on his holster, he called down into the basement. I told him there wasn't a light switch, so he took out his flashlight and started walking down the stairs slowly. I waited at the top of the stairs as he progressed to the bottom step, then disappeared from my view.
That's what I'm talking about, time travel.
I didn't wait too long before hearing a commotion downstairs. The cop seemed to be yelling in response to being attacked.
Help him.
The commotion ended with a gunshot. Then there were cries of pain, genuine cries this time. The cop called up to me to come help him get the guy upstairs.
Yeah.
He asked me to hold the flashlight as he guided the man who was now cuffed up the stairs. All the while he was screaming in pain and at the cop. The cop brought him outside and called for an ambulance on his radio. He wanted me to stick around to sign a witness statement. I stuck around for about half an hour before I left and went home. Who would have thought the same cop who wrote me a ticket would potentially save my life 10 minutes later?
So I'd have been like, since I helped you, you want to cancel out that ticket? And on top of that, I would have took the food back, like, I would have took it. So it's technically he already paid for it, you know. There's no point of letting the food go to waste, you know what I'm saying? A free meal, and if you can get out of the ticket, bro, I call that a good day. But that right then and there, I'd have been quitting DoorDash. But that's all could have been avoided. I mean, it's good and bad because it's like, you stopped a potential predator from hurting somebody like in the future, but then you also could have almost got yourself killed if you didn't forget your paper clipping that the police returned to you. So that was just, I don't know, man, just poor judgment and then just great timing, I guess. Story 2. I hope this one is not worse than the first one.
I occasionally do some deliveries for Postmates. Usually late at night after work during the week or on weekends. I use my motorcycle as it allows me to get from point A to point B faster. I was delivering some Mexican food to a guy named Ron.
Taco sound bomb.
It was a 15-minute drive from the burrito place to Ron's address.
I miss it.
When I got to the listed address, I brought the food up the long driveway and up to the front door. I rang the bell and an older woman opened the door.
Cougar.
I said delivery for Ronnie, but the woman looked confused and said, "There's no Ronnie here." I apologized and said I had the wrong house. So I went back to my bike and double-checked the app, making sure I was at the right house. And according to the app, I was in the preserve across the street from the house listed on the delivery.
Red flag-ish.
He requested I come into the nature preserve by the fire and drop it off there. He mentioned he was sorry about this and was planning on leaving a generous tip. One time before, I did have someone request I drop off their food at a park near their house. So at that moment, it didn't seem like the strangest thing in the world. It was just a slight inconvenience, but one that he'd apparently make up for with the tip.
I'm not really sensing
The
it
preserve
yet.
was gated, but there happened to be an opening leading into it right across the street from the house.
What's up, Jordan?
I followed the dirt trail until the light post ended, and any further I would be walking into complete darkness.
Okay, now it's starting to...
I looked around for the light of the fire, and as a matter of fact, I did see a hint of light coming from the woods. I started making my way over into the increasing darkness of the woods, leaving the lit up area. As I got closer, I could confirm it was light from a fire. Why were they in the middle of the woods, though? And the question of why they were expecting me to bring it to them out there started to ring in my head. I yelled out Ron's name a few times when I was within yelling distance of the fire. No answer. When I got close enough, I noticed something. There was no one sitting around that campfire. I asked myself, was that the right fire?
Yep.
But that was a silly question. How many fires could there be on a weeknight in the preserve?
That's gonna be the right fire. They're about to put you butt naked on a rotisserie, and then you about to be cooking them just like this with the Postmates that you just delivered, bro. Ain't no way in hell I'm delivering food into the darkness, bro. I'm about to be like, hey, I'm by this house. Either you come out or you're not getting your food. They'll be like, oh well, I paid. Well, hey, I'm gonna sit it right here. If you want it, and come get it. I couldn't be no delivery person, bro. 2 knocks and you don't answer, I'm out. Like, I'm not playing these games. I'm not waiting around. I'm not walking to the forest. I'm not about to play no scavenger hunt. I'm not about to be looking for no fire place or chimneys, whatever you want me to go find. Like, I'm not playing this. We're not playing these games, bro. Like, people are gullible if they really think I'm about to be out here doing this stuff. Like, heck no. Who the fuck gets DoorDash in the woods? I don't even know, bro. Like, I don't know who he even do that in the DoorDash. Well, like, is that Russian? I don't know what that says. This dude he is super gullible.
I walked a little closer to the fire and noticed a tent behind it. Maybe they were in there.
You gonna knock
so
on the
once
tent?
again, I yelled Ron's name as I approached the tent. It was zipped up. I tapped on the tent and said Ron's name again. So I finally unzipped the tent and knelt down to look inside.
Why are you unzipping it?
I saw someone laying down on their stomach, facing away from me, so that their shoes were only a few inches from my face. They seemed to be asleep. This was getting a bit ridiculous, so I just marked the order as delivered and turned ready to walk away.
There you go.
I didn't even make it a single step before noticing someone standing about 20 feet from me, between 2 big trees.
Oh, hell no.
He called out, "Are you alone?" "No," I said. "My friend is just over there." The guy asked, "Why aren't you alone?" I said I do my deliveries with a partner. He asked, "Where's my food?" I was about to tell him it was in the tent, when I felt 2 hands grab both my legs and tried pulling me down. I looked down and saw the arms reaching out from the tent. Ron, presumably the guy who I was just talking to, started charging at me. With only maybe 5 seconds to act, I did manage to escape the grasp of the 2 hands and run past Ron, if that was even his real name. I don't think he chased me after I left the vicinity of the fire. I found my way back to the bike easily, and I drove off without taking a second to look back. I contacted Postmates customer service about it. They told me I should escalate it to the police, as there was nothing they could do. By the time they even responded with that, I didn't even feel up to going through with a police report. I just figured I'd let it go. I got lucky and I was unharmed. Still, it taught me one thing. If your instinct tells you to turn and walk away, do it.
Told y'all. I thought I was capping out here. All right, Jordan. Thank you so much for stopping by, man. Have a great day. Hell no. Should have brought the strap. For real. Big dickus. Oh my god, I need that heat, bro. I'm telling you. Did you come along? I'd have been like, nah, I didn't. What's happening? Get my switch. Nah, I didn't. What's happening? He'd have been like, oh, my bad. And I'm like, and I'm taking your food. And you better give me 5 stars, too. And I'd have walked off and I'd have ate one of his nuggets, bro. Because I'm on my real gangster type stuff, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know nothing about that, though. No, I was kidding. If you can't see, just start shooting. Man. I got Nina with me. Bro, this called me Pop Smoke. I got it on me. Like that one dude, he said on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you think I could beat your ass? He said, I got it on me. Yo, y'all wild, man. At least y'all smart too, man. I can't. I'm all about survival, bruh. I'll shoot now and take the consequences later, bruh. Yeah, don't point me, Matt. Huh?
For some reason,
I don't understand.
never
I'm
really
sorry.
used any of those food delivery apps until recently, after learning how convenient they are. One night after a late work shift, I didn't have time to make dinner, so I ordered some Chinese food off Postmates. It was originally estimated to be delivered in half an hour, but I waited a lot longer than that. Around the 45-minute mark is when I started getting impatient. I called the Postmate driver, and he picked up after a few rings. I asked him where he was. He asked, "Who is this?" I said, "Tracy, the girl he was delivering food for."
Who's this?
There was a short silence. Then he said, "Oh yes, I'm on my way." So I thanked him and hung up. I sat in my living room with the TV on and basically just played around on my phone, dying for the Postmates driver to just show up already. Just then my phone started vibrating, and knowing that it was likely the Postmates driver calling me, I felt very relieved that the food was probably here at last. I picked up and waited for him to say something. I had to say hello like 4 times before he finally started speaking.
Yeah, nah.
He said he's outside. I didn't really know how to respond to that, so I said okay and then described my house to him. Then he said something weird. He asked me to come outside to get the food. I opened my front door to check if he was there. He wasn't. I asked him where he was as I stepped out onto the front deck.
Don't step out.
There was another pause. I looked around my whole front yard and didn't see anyone. I told him I didn't see him. He said, "I see you." Again, I didn't know how to respond, but the way he said it was just so creepy. The last thing he said before I hung up the phone was, "You look really pretty."
Oh, hell no.
At that point, I went inside and slammed my door shut and locked it.
There you go.
I opened the Postmates app, and it said my food was delivered. I didn't know what was going on here, but I was growing increasingly uncomfortable. I shut off all the lights in my house and started looking out each window. I started with the living room windows. Didn't see anyone. Then I checked the dining room windows. Nothing. Next, the kitchen. Still no one. So I went down to our den, which was by the back door. I hadn't raised the curtain that morning because of work, so I pulled the string to raise it up. Only a little bit. Just enough to peek under to check the backyard. This whole time I was looking out windows, I don't think I actually expected to see someone. But when I looked under the curtain to the den window, I saw a man sitting in my back patio. He wasn't on his phone, he wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting there, as if he were waiting for me.
Do we got the Chinese food?
I lowered the curtain back down, and then my phone rang. It was the guy again. I picked up, and he immediately said, "I just saw you at the window." All I said to him was, "I'm calling the cops," and I hung up. I went back to the living room and called the cops. The man on the phone said an officer would be over shortly. After I hung up, my phone kept ringing. It was the man. I kept rejecting his calls, but he wouldn't stop.
Should have answered it.
Sitting there waiting for the cops was one of the most tense moments of my life. Eventually, there was a knock at the door, followed by a man shouting, "Police." I jumped off the couch and ran to open the door.
Better make sure it's the police first.
I was confused to see not a man in a police uniform, but some man in some dirty street clothes who gave a disturbing smile as soon as we made eye contact. He opened the storm door and tried to get in, but I pushed the front door hard enough to get it shut and lock it. He didn't bang on the door, he didn't scream anything. I think he simply ran off after that. A few minutes later, the actual police showed up, and they searched the property with me. We found the man's phone left on the table in the backyard. The background to the phone was a white guy with a blonde girl, presumably his girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
I note this because the man who was on my stoop was not white, he was Hispanic. I did a little detective work with the cops and came to the conclusion that this man was not originally my Postmates driver, that he had stolen the driver's phone somehow mid-delivery. The police confiscated the phone and left after taking a report.
Damn.
As far as I know, that man never returned to my house. But this was easily the scariest experience of my life.
I'm kind of curious to know if she even got the Chinese food back. And the fact I knew, like, you're just gonna open the door, like, you ain't gonna look through the peephole, you ain't gonna check the window, like, you're just gonna just swing the door open because somebody said police, bruh. And then nowadays, you got people that are dressing up as police officers and pretending to be police and stuff like that, bro. Like, it's getting crazy. It's getting out of hand how people are getting these days, how smart they're getting. And the fact that he got jacked in the middle of his delivery, so he probably, damn, man. And he ran off and then left the phone. He got his fingerprints on the phone, so hopefully they use that. But usually they don't really use fingerprints unless it's just like a really, really like crucial case and they like need it. If it's just like some creepy incident, they're probably like, oh, I'm just going to look out for him. Let me get a description. They're not going to process it for like fingerprints unless she just actually like really, really pushes for it or something like that. But I doubt it. Don't order food at nighttime if you don't go to Walmart and do it. Don't order food at nighttime. If you do, go to Walmart and do it. Not your house. Yeah, facts. I'm not Russian. He said, computer. Use airplane mode, dummy. You stupid. And throw your phone out the window. Like, man. Alrighty. Next up, we have Nightmare Fizzles. Nightmare Fizzles. Nightmare Fizzles. And then after Nightmare Files, we're going to have our friendly neighborhood Mr. Ballin. And then that's going to be it for today's stream. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying, hopefully you guys have been enjoying this stream so far. I know I've been having some fun, so hopefully you guys are enjoying too. I know I keep stopping on that, but my opinion is I just have a strong opinion. I just feel like it needs to be heard sometimes, even if you don't agree with it. I just feel like my survival stuff should be put out there so you guys can feel it. But next up, we got Nightmare Files, and after Nightmare Files, we got Mr. Ballin. So stay tuned for that. If you can't miss, if you have to leave, I get it, you got work or you have to go to sleep or something like that, then you can always go back and rewatch the stream because I'll always re-upload the stream before I go to sleep, or always post it itself too. Man, I would just shoot through the door, no answering if it was the and if it wasn't, boy, you'd be going to jail. He said, I'm proud of you, but you going to jail. Alright. This video is by this video is by Nightmare Files, so if you guys haven't already, make sure you shoot down description box, call a link, go watch the video in entirety, because I'm going to be pausing and stopping and talking through the whole thing. And you know it, man. No, I was kidding. But for now, let's get it. Ooh, that was a good one. I think I like that. That was a good one. Alright, let's go. Okay. What is it called again? 3 true scary stories with real footage, bro. Real compelling footage that'll knock your socks off, bro. Make your underwear walk up, jump off of you, walk to the laundry room, wash yourself, come back, and then put the thing back on you again. Oh, you're right. True stories with real footage. Sorry, I get so excited I forget. My bad. Don't fight me. I understand. My bad. Story 1. Let's go.
6 months ago, I moved to my new home in a new city, and I'll keep it private for my privacy, and you'll see why later in the story. I met my new neighbor. The first impression of him was that he was very nice, funny, and a down-to-earth guy, but his behavior began to change after getting to know him.
Red flag.
He's becoming a bit weird. Then I met his son. He was telling me that his father was threatening him with stupid things because he was playing in a neighborhood and he only liked for his son to play at his house. He seemed like a hovering parent that did not like his son to go anywhere or to have any type of freedom. My neighbor began to be mean to everyone that lived near us.
I have no idea.
He became very distant, as if he wanted us to probably get away from him.
Hold on.
At least that's what I was assuming.
Sorry, just a second, y'all. It's important. Oops.
My neighbor began to be mean to everyone that lived near us. It became very distant.
My bad.
As if he wanted us to probably get away from him. At least that's what I was assuming. One night, it was around 2 a.m. when I was awakened by screaming and arguing. I stayed in my bed and I covered my ears with my pillow, but my window was open because I liked the fresh air. The arguing continued, then all of a sudden it stopped. I heard grunting and something being dragged across some type of floor. I got tired of hearing the noise, so I decided to get up and close my window, which is actually facing my neighbor's house. I got up, and as I were getting ready to close my window, I looked up at my neighbor's house, and I saw something hanging through a window, so I took this video. I didn't know what this was, but the prior argument that I heard told me that that was a body hanging from the ceiling. I shut my window very quietly, and I called the cops, but I whispered while I was on the phone with them. I don't know why, and at that point I didn't want to know why that happened. The person that he was arguing with was one of his son's friend's father. They were arguing over something my neighbor said to his son's friend. The police eventually came and they arrested him. I told them not to come over here so I didn't have to make a report, so I went down to the station. My neighbor has already been through trial, and he actually received a death sentence, but I don't want to give too much information because it'll bring up who I am.
Wait, so was that a real body? No way. Hold on, timeout. Did he actually kill somebody? Bruh, no way. That had to be fake, huh? He's still alive. He's probably... I heard about this. That is crazy. Yo, somebody has to update me. There is no way that was real, is it? Like, was that actually a person? It was? So was it... Oh my lord, how did he was filming with a calculator, so I don't... No, he probably just lost the quality when he zoomed in. But yo, that's, man, rest in peace if that was real, bro. Like, I didn't have no much information. Like, who was it? Was it the dad's, the guy he was arguing with? Was it the son? I don't know. Story 2 though.
So I live in a neighborhood that is considered middle class, but has its bad parts and its very good parts.
I feel it.
I live right in between. One night, I got off of work pretty early because we didn't have that many customers coming in and out. By the way, I work in a locally owned restaurant. It was the winter time, so it would get dark outside pretty early at around 5 p.m. I drove home at around 6, went into the apartment, and just relaxed like usual. At one point, I was on the phone with one of my female friends, and I heard something by my room outside. We live on the first floor, by the way. I thought maybe that someone was just walking by, but the noise continued.
Never live on the first floor.
I didn't think anything of it because my room faces our front parking lot. The sound continued, but it was a little lower, as if it were further away. I got off the phone with the girl, and I looked outside. I saw a woman standing by my brother's car and my car in the middle of the parking lot. I yelled for my brother not because she was simply standing there, but due to her back being bent backwards in an unnatural way and her screaming. He came to my window, opened it, and screamed out for her to move. All of a sudden, she fell on her back, got up, and ran away. After that, we looked at each other and began to laugh. Eventually, I went to sleep. I woke up to the same sounds from earlier. This time, I knew exactly what it was, so I took my phone out to record.
What credits did I get?
She was in a darker area that had no lights, but this is what I caught on camera.
She was here. She was like outside in the front around my brother and my car, and she was just standing by my car, just looking at it, and she was like talking for herself. And she was there for like at least 10 minutes, and then she went to my brother's car, and she's just saying all kinds of crazy stuff and talking to herself. And right now, it's like It's like 4 in the morning, dude. And it's 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying?
No, I can't. I don't know what you're saying. I can't see anything. Bro, I don't like this. What am I looking at?
I'm hiding.
Bro, what's up with these cameras, bro?
I went back inside and I waited it out with my gun. I didn't go back to sleep, and the lady ended up leaving. I don't know if she was a tweaker or possessed.
Yeah. People are wild. Story 3. I thought he was going to give us a video of him or her bending over backwards and her back was messed up.
My name is Matthew and I'm 16 years old, and I'll be recounting an event that happened to me and a group of friends a while ago. I live in Perth, Western Australia, and due to construction happening in the area, there are some large construction sites, which is where this story would take place. This happened during the school holidays, and it was on a night that I decided to meet up with a few friends. I won't share their names for obvious reasons.
Wow.
I asked my friend if he wanted to come to my house tonight. He said sure.
Sus.
So I waited for him outside, and I met up with him. We went into my backyard for a while and we stayed there. Having an interest in urban exploration, I asked my friend if he wanted to go around to this construction site that was nearly finished of some new house. He said, yeah, sure, let's go. I thought it was a good idea to go. This is where the story gets worse, but that's for later. So both my friend and I agreed to go to the construction site. We walked out of my gate and onto a path leading to it, which was around the corner. When we get to the front of the construction site, we were both surprised of how modern and big it was. It was a typical 2-story house with a garage, pool, and a patio. I recall walking him to the left side of the house, where a narrow path was to get to the backyard. When we got to the backyard, we were looking around and we saw the pool, a large patio, and a nice direct view of the city at nighttime. Anyways, we wanted to get inside the house. To be honest, we went in there to take photos and explore. We went to the backyard and tried a few of the doors that were there. Eventually, we found one that was surprisingly open.
What happened to the good old days? Also, I fixed the description. Appreciate you, Private Man. I put everybody's video. So now if you guys want to go check out the videos, I think it should be there. I have to update it. My bad. I guess when I ended the stream, it kind of erased it. But what happened to the good old days where you could just invite friends over, you didn't have to sleep over, you guys had pizza and watch movies? Y'all remember? I don't know if some of y'all remember or not, but y'all remember going to like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and just renting movies, and then you get pizza and you got to stay up all night watching movies and stuff? Man, those was the good old days, man. I was like the best. Like, I remember that one song. It was like, back in the day, I was young, but I'm not a kid anymore. And some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Man, I wish, bro. I'm damn near almost 30, bro. I wish I could go back in time and do it all over again, bro. At first, I was like, I can't wait to be an adult. And then them bills hit me, and I'm just like, damn. I should have lived it up a little bit more when I was younger. Should have played more sports, man. If you young, you better get it while you still young, man, because my bones be snack, crackle, and popping like Rice Krispies, bro. Should be sound like a Kit Kat breaking off when I get out of bed.
And we walked in. Both my friend and I were looking around. The interior of the house was large, and I remember a huge light. It was the size of a small person hanging from the roof.
Oh, hell
We
no.
decided to go upstairs. The stairs weren't placed yet, so all it was a guardrail with some timber and steel plates all ascending to the second floor. We climb up and get to the second floor. That floor is absolutely massive. To the left, you have a room that is a bathroom. Well, it was connected to a bathroom. And it had a closet and a bedroom. When you leave the bathroom, there's a hallway which leads down to the area that has an office room and a balcony. We went back to the bathroom area and we turned the light on to have a better look around the room. Me and my friend had one last look and then we left. When we got outside, we looked up and I asked my friend did he turn the light off. He said no, and I went to accompany him while he did. This is where things start to frighten me. As I'm waiting downstairs for him, all of a sudden I hear this pounding and yelling. It was someone yelling, "What are you doing?" I ran out screaming and yelling so loud that my friend heard me and he ran outside. As we got onto the road, we hear a man yelling for us to get back here. We ran around the corner and hid in someone's bushes until he went away. My friend and I decided to go for a walk. As we were walking, Our other friends called us, and we told them what happened. They were eager to come check out the house too. So me and my friend, we get home and wait for the other two friends. Eventually they came, and I told them all the events that happened, and my other friends were eager to go check out this house. So in total, there were 4 of us.
Why?
When we got to the house, we all decided to split in 2 groups.
Oh my
It was
Lord.
2 of us going one way, and 2 of us going the other way.
Never split
Pretty
up.
much, me and my friend went inside to explore, and the other 2 stood outside keeping watch. Both my friend and I entered. We both have our flashlights on. We were walking around the whole bottom floor to make sure there's no one in there. I recall walking toward the staircase with my other friend, checking out the house. As I was walking, I stepped on a small rock and made a cracking sound. As soon as that happened, something absolutely terrifying happened, and that fueled my adrenaline. At this point, this is where I started to record a short clip of what happened.
Okay. I don't like this. I don't like these dark videos when they look at the floor and they just suddenly go like this. I don't like that. I'm scared. At least he got shorts on. He ready to run. Okay. You know.
There were either repeated knocks or someone pressing the door handle to one of the rooms on the door downstairs repeatedly. Both my friend and I, we were out of there so fast and shocked we were yelling and screaming. We eventually get outside and we tell our other friends what happened. They also asked what happened, and we said, as we were exploring halfway in, we heard a few knocks or a rattle on the door handle. They were just as shocked as I was. I asked who did the knocking. They asked me what I meant. They were in the front keeping watch. Still to this day, this event scares me and has somewhat taught me a lesson. And that's not to trespass.
You think? He said, okay. How are you going to react to the escape? I checked out a little bit of it and it kind of looked boring. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really like it that much. That's what them dummies get. These people need to find something better. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know what parents they got, because my parents, bro, they have that house on lockdown, bro. You cannot leave that house without somebody hearing you, or it's without somebody seeing you either. Like, you have to get, it was like levels. You have to get past my mom's room, and then you got my sister's room right there. We had that big ass heavy door too, so you even try going out that side, they was going to hear you. And then on top of that, we lived in the hood, so we had those little bar doors. The bar ones, them shits be creaking all loud when you try to leave. So it was like no sneaking out anyways. And plus, she locked damn near every window, every door, everything when the street lights came on, bro. Like, she did not play about staying out that late at night. Now, even now, she still be telling me I shouldn't be staying out that late because it's getting, like, you know, dangerous and stuff. But we about to jump in.
Today, I'm going to share.
This is our last video for tonight, or for me at least it's night. For the morning for you guys, or afternoon, wherever you may be. This is our last video, so hopefully you guys are enjoying. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Reprisalzems, and welcome to the Crow's Nest. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, support your boy. Also, head over to Mr. Ballin and go help him out. Subscribe to him, man. His Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, as well as his Mr. Ballin Shorts YouTube channel, as well as this YouTube channel as well, where he has all his content and whatnot. He's been really nice. So hopefully you guys can have her and show some love. Where are you originally from? I'm from Los Angeles. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. But yeah, that's where I usually originally come from. Born and raised. But man, if you guys are a fan of Strange, Dark, and Mysterious, go follow this dude. Great dude. Really, really nice. I hope to see him somewhere in like movies or something. I feel like he'll be a good like, I can see him as like a little analyst or something for like a movie, maybe even like a top secret type of dude, you know, because he can play the role. He's ex-Navy SEAL, so I would like to see him in some kind of movie. But let's jump into it.
Today, I'm going to share 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I'm going to share the photo that is famously associated with them. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious deliberative story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do. We upload 2 or 3 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please become a surgeon at the hospital located closest to where the like button lives, and then eventually, when the like button goes in for very minor outpatient surgery, accidentally perform a craniectomy on them. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's stories.
Let's go, Mr. Ball. All day, every day, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm about to...
Just after midnight on June 17th, 1939, a crowd of people began to form outside of this unremarkable building in Versailles, which is a city in France. The atmosphere in this crowd was electric. They all knew why they were there. They knew what they were about to see, but even still, there was a lot of nervous anticipation. And so as such, some people were coping with these nerves by drinking alcohol and trying to laugh and have a good time, while others were much more subdued and were trying to be respectful about what they were about to witness. Between 1 and 2 a.m., the doors of this unremarkable building opened up, and a group of men dressed in the same dark uniforms came out and didn't say a word to the crowd, and the crowd immediately went silent and began to back away from them. And this group of men, they walked right out in front of this building, and they had lumber and they had tools with them, and they began constructing this kind of strange wooden structure. And so the crowd, they wanted to get up close to see what these guys were doing, but at the same time, they didn't want to get too close. And so as the crowd formed a sort of half moon around these men that were doing the constructing were moving so seamlessly, like all of them had built this structure dozens of times before, and it was just muscle memory. And so by about 3 a.m., this structure was built, and they placed this large basket next to the structure, and then these men packed up their tools and the remaining pieces of lumber, and they turned around and they went right back inside the doors into the building and were gone. At this point, the crowd had become quite sizable outside of this building, and they were growing kind of restless because they knew now that this structure was built that the next time those doors open, the show is really going to start. This spectacle they are all there for, it's about to happen. And the crowd all knew that this event couldn't happen if the sun was up, because if the sun was up and the area was well lit, the press would be able to take pictures and film it, and that's not what officials wanted. They wanted this to happen in the darkness. But for whatever reason, things seemed to be getting delayed inside of this building. And so the crowd was just getting more and more restless. People are getting more and more drunk, and they're getting louder and more disruptive and boisterous. And then around 4:45 a.m., the sun had come up. And so the press was out in full force with their cameras trained at the doors of this building. And so the crowd really at this point is not actually expecting this event to take place, because at this point it just seems totally unlikely. But at 4:50 a.m., those doors swung open.
All right, take your bets. What do y'all think it is? Take your bets. Take your bets. Get them while it's hot. It's going to be execution. It's going to be murder. It's going to be something else. They're going to be giving away money, cash, dogs, animals, any. Place your bets now, people. I feel like it's about to be a sacrifice of some kind of like goat or a person. I feel like it's a person. Tracial said execution. I could see that happening. But who are they going to execute, though? Cult. It's a cult. Yeah, 100% it's a cult. But I wonder what they're going to be displaying, because everybody is gathered around like it's the thing to be or thing to do at 2 or 3 something in the morning, bro. That's like it's like the time after the clubs close, bro, pretty much. And then you want to go out. He said murder, execution. All right, look like execution is winning. All right, let's see.
Standing in the threshold was 31-year-old Eugene Weidman, who was a convicted serial killer. His arms were tied behind his back, and the collar of his white shirt had been tucked down inside because they needed his neck to be free and clear because he was about to be beheaded. So the 2 guards on either side of Eugene, they pulled him forward out towards the crowd.
Good call.
So the executioners behind him, who were dressed all in black, could filter out and take up positions alongside the guillotine, which is that wooden structure that had been built earlier in the morning. And so as Eugene is being brought out towards the crowd and everything is getting set up for his execution, the crowd went wild. They were shrieking and howling and laughing and pointing and booing and just generally being completely rambunctious and totally bloodthirsty bloodthirsty. Eugene kept his head down. He did not want to look at the crowd, and he did not want to look at the guillotine. And so eventually the two guards turned him and walked him directly towards the base of the guillotine, at which point the executioners that had taken up their positions around this device, they grabbed him and slid him forward so he was on his stomach on top of this wooden platform, the guillotine, and they slid him forward until his head poked through this opening at the very far end, at which point his neck was positioned right under this huge blade that was dangling right above him, and his head was positioned over a metal bucket on the ground, which he would be looking directly at. At this point, the crowd was at a fever pitch, and one of the executioners pulled a lever, the blade came soaring down, and it removed his head fell into the bin, and the executioners pushed his torso into the basket that had been placed out there earlier, and then the executioners and the prison guards, they gathered up Eugene's body parts and went right back inside of the building, which was a prison. At this point, the crowd was cheering and going wild, and they ran up and began dabbing their scarves and their handkerchiefs in Eugene's blood, which was on the ground, as a sort of souvenir from having been at this execution. And of course, because the sun had been out for this entire spectacle, all of this had been captured on film. And so later that day, and for the next couple of days, the headlines all over France were about this bloodthirsty crowd that was cheering as this man was beheaded, and it just overall made France look really, really bad. And so French leaders decided that from that point forward, they could no longer do any more public executions. So the guillotine would continue to get used for decades beyond this point, but it was all behind closed doors. Also, random fact about being beheaded by a guillotine: your head, after it's been separated from your body, stays conscious for about 10 to 12 seconds, so they say. And apparently there's been lots of cases where the executioner, after the condemned has had their head removed, will yell the name of the person who has just had their head removed, and that person's head will look over at the person calling to them and will blink or try to mouth words for several seconds before the lack of oxygen kills the brain and then the head is no longer conscious. Here are some of the more notable pictures that were used in the media from Eugene Weidmann's execution.
Oh yeah, they held him. Damn, look at that crowd, boy. Bro, I don't know. Sometimes the guillotine, whatever it is, bro, sometimes it's not, they forget to sharpen it, and sometimes it takes more than one thing to chop some people's heads off, bro. Because some people, I remember they had to do it like twice or 3 times to get it to actually go through all the way. But, like, that's some crazy stuff, bro. You went over there dipping your shirts and scarves, bro. That's some, bro, humanity's some weird, man. You'd be surprised, bro. People are weird. That's some shit. Like, oh, wow, we got them. Let's go dip our scarves. Like, what? I don't know, bro. That's some weird stuff, bro. Man, if that was me and I was about to just die right there, I'd been talking hella smack, bro. All the way in. And then once my head would have been in the basket, I'd use those 10 to 12 seconds. Be like, hey, over here. They'll look down. I'm like, they're like, he's still alive. How you... One big old loogie, right? One big old loogie on their head while it was still alive in my head. But I don't think you can do all that, though. Because they say you just blink and stuff like that. But, I don't know. That's what I would have did, though. I would have went out like that. Crazy that people used to watch executions. I know, man. Man, people want that kind of stuff. People, like, want to do that kind of stuff. And, again, they wish they could do it now. Some people want to bring that stuff back. And I'm just like, that's what I'll tell you, man. Stay strapped, bruh. Magic elixir.
In the early 1900s, Eben Byers was a man who other people envied. He was born into a very wealthy family in New York City. He attended Yale University in Connecticut, which is a very prestigious Ivy League university, and he was devilishly handsome. After his college graduation, he didn't need a job because his family was so rich, and so instead he focused his time on a passion of his, which was golfing. And in time, he became this world-class golfer, going so far as to win the 1906 U.S. Amateur Tournament, which is the biggest amateur golf tournament in the world that most of the winners go on to become professional golfers. And so Eben most likely would have followed that path and become a pro golfer had his father not just handed over the very successful metalworking business that he started that made his family wealthy in the first place. And so Eben stopped his golf career and became the chairman of this incredibly successful company. And so overnight, he basically went from being just rich to being uber rich, making more money than he could possibly spend. But Eben did attempt to spend his money. He pretty much immediately began buying up luxury properties all over the country. He bought horse racing stables in the United Kingdom and in America, and he bought an entire luxury box at Forbes Field, which is where the Pittsburgh Pirates professional baseball team used to play. And so in addition to owning all these incredible things, Eben also, through his role as chairman of this company, began connecting with and befriending very powerful and influential people like the founders and executives at the Coca-Cola Company. And so all in all, Eben's life was really going quite well until 1927. That year, Eben was 47 years old, and he took some time off from gallivanting around the world and rubbing shoulders with famous people to go catch a football game at his alma mater at Yale University. So he hops on a train, he rides to Connecticut, he watches this game, and then afterwards he gets back on the train to head back to Pittsburgh. And this is a very long ride. It's over 12 hours long. And so Eben naturally bought a first-class ticket, and so he was inside of a train car that had bunk beds for passengers to sleep on during the ride.
That's lit.
So Eben climbed into a top bunk and he fell asleep. A few hours later, after the train is well on its way to Pittsburgh, Eben, in his sleep, manages to roll to the side of the bed and actually falls out of his bed onto the ground. He lands hard on his left side, it wakes him up, and as he stands up, he thinks he's okay, but then he feels this shooting pain in his left arm. So he's moving his arm around, he's not really sure what's wrong with it, but he's hoping it's just some bruising, and so he decides to get back into his bunk and just go back to sleep. And so he manages to fall asleep despite the pain, and then when they roll into the station in Pittsburgh several hours later, he wakes up and right away he feels that pain in his left arm. And so after getting off the train and going back to his house and dropping off his luggage, he went right to his physical therapist's office to ask him if there was anything he could do to help with the pain in his arm. And so the physical therapist examines Eben's shoulder and determines that, there's no structural damage to his arm, but obviously Eben is in pain. And so he says, look, there's a new product that came online that's quite expensive, but since you're a man of means, maybe it's something you want to consider. It's called Radithor, and it's supposed to dull aches and pains, and it's supposed to give you this huge boost of energy.
That don't even sound like something you should be putting on anything. Oh yes, my doctor prescribed me Radithor. That sound like it's like Thor and like radiation or something. Like it doesn't sound like something you should be using. Radithor. Like Radithor or something like that. Like that's ridiculous. Radithor.
And so, maybe you want to try that. And so Eben was really excited at the notion of taking this new health tonic and said, yeah, let's do it. And so his physical therapist wrote him a prescription for Radithor. Eben took the prescription and he went to the drugstore. He picked up a half-ounce bottle of this liquid. He went back to his house and, as prescribed, he drank a very small spoonful of this liquid.
Bruh, that sounds like something I used to kill roaches or something. Radithor. Get rid of pests in your home.
And right away, he felt this surge of energy, the pain in his arm started to fade, all the things this health tonic claimed to be able to do, it was doing. And so over the next couple of days, Eben very diligently every day took the prescribed amount, a very small spoonful of this Radithor, and every day he felt better and better and better. Not just the pain in his arm, but overall, he felt happier, he felt fitter, he felt alive, and he was attributing all those feelings to this miracle tonic. And so he began taking more and more of this tonic, well beyond what was prescribed, to the point where he was drinking 3 full bottles of Radithor every single day. And so for years he did this, and it was all going great until his jaw fell off. Literally, in 1931, one day, his lower jaw just separated from his skull and went slack. And so the reason this happened was because Radithor was actually just radioactive water. In the early 1900s, the radioactive element radium was believed to have highly curative properties with no side effects. And so naturally, at the time, dozens of health products were created with radium being their main ingredient. And Radithor was one of those products. It was literally just water and radium. And so after consuming over 1,400 bottles of Radithor over a 3-year period, Eben's body was finally just starting to disintegrate from the inside out. After he had his jaw surgically removed, along with large portions of his upper jaw, the rest of his body also just began to crumble. And so by the end of 1931, when his story was making headlines all around the world about the dangers of Radithor and really more specifically the dangers of radium, Eben had become completely bedridden and his skull was now beginning to disintegrate. There were holes forming all over his skull that were exposing portions of his brain. And so by 1932, Eben was dead. Eben was buried in Pittsburgh, and he was buried inside of a lead-lined coffin that was designed to absorb any of the radiation emitting from his bones. And then 30 years after he was buried, so in 1965, scientists actually exhumed his skeleton to see if it was still emitting radiation. And they determined it was still emitting the same levels of radiation as when he died. And they actually would ultimately figure out that radium, this radioactive element, has a half-life of 1,600 years. So what that means is Eben's body will remain highly radioactive for centuries. Here is a picture of Eben with his jaw surgically removed. It was taken shortly before he passed away.
Oh my lord! Bruh. That's crazy, bruh. They, yeah, they used to test on us back then, bruh. They still do, I think. But, bruh, that's, man, for shoulder pain, this dude prescribed him radioactive water, bruh. This dude gave him radium water, bruh. Like, they legit gave this dude toxic water to drink for his shoulder pain, bruh. Like, they didn't have no ibuprofen or anything back then, no Tylenol, nothing. He just went straight on here, drink some radioactive water, bruh. How you said? With the amount of strength I had left, bruh, I would have found that doctor and I would have killed him, bruh. I'm 100% sure. I'm gonna die anyway, bruh. You coming with me? There's no way in hell. You just made me throw away my whole life, bro. He was rich. He was living his best life, and you tell him to drink some water and he loses his jaw? He drunk, how long? They said 1,400 bottles? How many bottles did he drink? I forgot the number, but he drank a lot of that stuff, bro. He was feeling good, like superhuman, and eventually, the radioactivity or whatever it was just started killing him, man. Oh my lord, bro. That's some, oh my god, did you see his face? I'm not trying to be funny, but he looked like the, have you played Left 4 Dead, the spitter? His jaw looked like that a little bit. Oh my lord, bruh. That kind of, ooh man. I'm definitely going to be up watching cartoons, bruh, because that's ridiculous. But also, yeah, they said they blocked it on, they blocked the video on Patreon too. So I don't know. I thought Patreon, they say you can post it on there without any problems, but they block content there too, so I don't think Patreon makes a difference at all. If they copyright that, then I'm pretty sure they're going to do the same thing with TV shows and movies. So I don't know. We have to go back and relook at that. So yeah, unfortunately, that video probably won't be posted for a little bit. So yeah, so bear with me, so I can find out what's going on and how to use Patreon, or because I don't know. I already tried asking for permission like 3 or 4 or 5 times, and they don't email you back. So I don't know what else I can do. But let's get it.
There is still some debate about what exactly happened in this story that I'm about to share with you. And so for transparency, in this video, I am going to rely on the narrative that was presented in court by the defendant. And so with that in mind, here we go. On the afternoon of December 3rd, 2012, a freelance photographer working for the New York Post newspaper named Umar Abbasi was walking down the stairs of the 49th Street subway station in New York City. This very busy station is located only a few blocks away from the very famous Times Square. And so after Umar made his way down to this underground subway station, he walked over to one of the big automated kiosks that looks like an ATM, and he purchased a subway ticket. And then with his ticket, he walked over to the turnstiles, he slid his ticket through the slot, pushed past the turnstiles and was now standing out on the actual train platform. And from where Umar was standing, this platform basically was like a huge sidewalk that stretched all the way to his right a couple hundred feet and all the way to his left a couple hundred feet. And in front of this platform were the actual tracks down below, because the train, when it came out of the tunnel, it would actually come right up alongside this platform with almost no clearance between the platform and the train. As such, the leading edge of the platform, basically the lip of the train platform that's closest to the train tracks, has this big yellow line painted all across it to keep commuters from standing too close to the edge, because if the train came through, they could actually get hit by the train. And so as Umar is standing on this platform and he's looking left and right, it's totally crowded with people, and they're all kind of tucked back against the wall away from this yellow line. And so Umar decides he's going to turn right and wait at the right end of the platform, just because he saw down at the far end there appeared to be a gap in people, and he figured he could stand right there. And so Umar begins navigating past all of these people on the right side of the platform, and for the most part, everyone he is passing either has their head buried in their phone, or they're listening to music, or both. Because the thing about riding trains, especially trains in busy cities, is none of the commuters want to talk to anybody else. They want to be completely left alone. And so as Umar is walking,
Facts, that's true. They have a rule here in Japan that you have to be quiet on the train, bro. 100%. Nobody's talking to nobody, bro. It is the quietest thing I ever heard. All you hear is just the train moving. No music. You don't hear nobody watching videos. You don't hear nobody whispering, nothing. It's like insanely quiet. Like, I was in shock when I first did it. Like, if you even talk or meant say something, bro, people will look at you, bro, because like you're not supposed to talk on a train.
Everyone was basically doing that, but at some point he did pass two people that were engaged in a pretty heated conversation. Umar had no idea what they were arguing about, or if they were even arguing at all. He didn't know who these people were, but he took mental note of the fact that two men were kind of bickering with each other. And so he walked past them, didn't give it much of a second thought, and he arrived at a gap in the gaggle of people waiting for the train. And there he just stood well back of the yellow line, where he pulled out his camera and began clicking through the images he had taken earlier in the day at an earlier photo shoot. And so as he's clicking through these pictures, he starts to notice that those two men who had been bickering before are now straight up yelling at each other. They're screaming obscenities at each other. It's not clear who's fighting about what or who was the aggressor, but it's very obvious that at this point they're fighting. And so Umar looked away from his camera and looked left down the platform towards these two guys. And so these two guys are about 100 to 125 feet away from him, and all the people that were standing in the vicinity of these two men are beginning to migrate away from them. They just don't want anything to do with them. Because the thing about being in subways, especially in cities like New York, is there's lots of people that go down into these train stations that are inebriated or mentally unstable.
Facts.
And so very strange and bad behavior is just kind of a normal thing, and people tend to just kind of ignore it. And so that's what's happening. People are kind of walking away from these two fighting men, doing their best to pretend it's not happening. And so Umar spent a couple more seconds staring down the platform at these two men, but eventually just shrugged and thought, you know what, whatever problems they have, they're not mine. And so Umar went back to his camera and continued to click through his pictures, when all of a sudden he hears a scream coming from the left side of the platform. But it was not a scream that sounded like it came from either of these two men. And so Umar looked up from his camera and looked left down the platform, and now he just sees chaos. It's people running away from these two men. People are running to get away from whatever is happening around them. And so Umar's thinking these men must have come to blows, and they're now fighting actively, physically with each other. But when finally the crowd kind of cleared for a second, he saw a woman pointing down at the train tracks right in front of where those two men had been standing. And so Umar looks at the woman and he follows her finger down onto the tracks, and he sees there is now a man, one of the two men who had been fighting, laying face down on the train tracks. And then, to Umar's horror, he looks up down the tunnel where the train would come out of, and he sees the headlights of the train. It is now coming into the station. And so Umar starts running down the platform to try to get to this man to pull him out of the tracks. And as he's running, he pulls out his camera and he turns the flash on and he holds the shutter down and he aims it at the train conductor to hope the flashing of his camera will alert the train conductor to put on the emergency brake and stop the train before he hits this guy down on the tracks. And so as Umar is running, trying to signal this train conductor, the man down on the tracks tries to stand up, and Umar sees he's really struggling to stand, and when he finally gets up, he turns and he grabs the edge of the platform, and he tries to pull himself up and out of the tracks, but he doesn't have the strength or the coordination, and as Umar is getting closer and closer, but he's still too far away to help, he sees that this guy down on the tracks is not going to be able to get out of there before the train hits him. And so Umar finally comes to a stop, and he watches as this man down on the tracks lets go of the lip of this platform and just turns and faces the train like he knows what's about to happen. And then seconds later, the train, although it did try to stop, impacted this man and killed him instantly. The man's name was Kai-Suk Han, and he was 58 years old. When the police finally showed up, they arrested the other man who Han had been fighting with. He was a 30-year-old named Naeem Davis, and Davis would actually tell police that he had been fighting with Han, and he had pushed him onto the tracks, but it was in self-defense. However, that self-defense story didn't stop him from being charged with murder. While Davis sat in jail waiting for his trial, the media and the public at large had already come to the conclusion that Davis was guilty. And this was due in large part to a particular picture. As Umar was running down the platform, holding up his camera, holding the flash down, trying to flag the train conductor to get him to stop, Umar was also taking dozens and dozens of pictures. And those pictures were of Han right before he was struck by the train. And so after Umar ultimately discovered he had taken these pictures, he gave them to his employer, the New York Post newspaper, and the day after the incident, they ran on the front page a picture of Han right before he's about to be killed with the headline, "Doomed." And so once the public saw this picture, nobody could believe that Davis was anything other than a cold-blooded killer for pushing this poor innocent man onto the tracks. But as it would turn out, nearly 5 years later, when Davis did finally get his trial, he was acquitted of all charges because it turned out Han was very drunk and had picked a fight with Davis, and Davis was filmed on more than one occasion on the platform trying to get Han to leave him alone. And so finally, after Han began making death threats and then grabbed Davis's shoulder, Davis turned around and pushed him, and Han, being drunk, stumbled and fell backwards onto the tracks and then was ultimately killed. Here is the infamous photo of Han on the cover of the New York Post newspaper.
Jesus Christ.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments section what it is and where you found it, so give us the timestamp. And if you're the first to do that, we'll pin you at the top of the comments section. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done this already, please become a surgeon and get a job at the hospital located nearest to where the like button lives. And then eventually, when the like button goes in for a very minor outpatient surgery, accidentally give them a craniectomy. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly 2 or 3 video uploads. We are now selling merchandise like flannels and hats and sweatshirts and mugs and all sorts of stuff. If you're interested in official Mr. Ballin merch, go to shopmrballin.com. If you want to know about upcoming deals and promotions, check out our shop's Instagram page. The username is shopmrballin. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram or on Twitter. My username for both platforms is the same. It's JohnBallin416. I also have a ton of content over on TikTok where my username is Mr. Ballin. We also have a second YouTube channel called Mr. Ballin Shorts, where we post random short videos and lost episodes. We also have a Facebook page just called Mr. Ballin, where we post very condensed versions of the stories we post on YouTube. If you have a story suggestion, please submit it to our subreddit just called Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So whether I see you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, or some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support. And until next time, that's going to do it. See ya.
Bruh. Yeah, I don't know why I always say Mr. Ballin for last. It's always put me in my feelings. But, like, I don't know. At least, I don't like the black screen. But at least for me, it's just like, you bigger than him, bruh. You way 10 times bigger. You knew he was drunk. I'm pretty sure you could smell the alcohol on him. Like, even if he's pestering you, just leave, move. Like, me personally, I've had people approach me drunk. I just move out the way. If they keep following me, I just, give them like a little, stop. But I've never turned around and just like, ugh, onto the train tracks. Like, bro, why would you push him on the train tracks? You couldn't just grab him and throw him to the side or, just tell him like, hey, man, kind of like move. Like, you knew what you was doing, bro. You don't turn around and push somebody on the train tracks. You know what I'm saying? But I guess they said self-defense. When people are drunk, bro, they're not 100% themselves. They don't pertain the same strength they would if they were sober. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what took place, but I'm just speaking off of what I would do. I wouldn't push a drunk person onto the train tracks. I wouldn't push anybody on the train tracks who are fighting, like, you know, take it upstairs or take it somewhere else. I'm not about to fight you near a train and then push you on a train and then take your phone out and take pictures. And then you didn't even try to help him back up at that. Like, he didn't even try to help him up. Like, they didn't look at that and see that the train was coming and he didn't even try to help grab him. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Like, he was twice his size. He was an Asian guy. He looked like he weighed about maybe 130, 150. The other dude looked like he was at least 190 and strong as shit, so I don't see why he would. And he was like 6 foot something too. You could tell from the picture when they was like arguing. But I don't know. That's just me. Don't quote me on that. I mean, rest in peace to him and the other guy as well that lost his jaw. Oh man, this is just a lot to take in right now. But man, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and supporting the channel, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. This is just me giving a thanks to you guys for giving me 3,300, man. Hopefully I'm blessed to keep making content and doing live streams for you guys. And yeah, maybe one day I can do this full time and I can post daily, do live streams dailies, do more giveaways and stuff like that, do like meet and greets. You know, the sky's the limit. I always have a big imagination and always have positive thoughts. So again, thank you guys so much for the support, but that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you guys enjoyed, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, go show some love to the content creators that allow me to use their content. Mr. Nightmare, Nightmare Files, Mr. Ballin, and Dr. Bob. So make sure you go stop by and go check that out. Leave 5 stars on Yelp. Yeah, the Patreon is still under review. Just give me some time to think about what I can do, because they told me Patreon is where you can post stuff and it doesn't get copyrighted, and I posted it and it got copyright striked on Patreon. So I don't know how that works. If anybody is familiar, please let me know in Twitter or down in the comments section and help me work through that. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, I know a lot of you guys also for 5,000 told me that you want to see me do a question and answer, and some of you guys said, I forgot, it was a question and answer and it was another one. But keep throwing out recommendations for the 5K and then I'll see what I can do and try to make it happen. Thank you, Rampage. I appreciate it. Was it Wojtek or Wojtek? Appreciate you, Rampage, Tracial, Polt, Fast Track. Who else was in here? Private Man, appreciate you. Biggest Dickus, appreciate you. Time Travel, appreciate you. Sebi, appreciate it. The guy that was in here from Kazakhstan, I think I said it right. Appreciate you too. Finnick, appreciate you. And if I don't see your name and I missed it, Jordan, both Jordans, Griffin and Thurston, appreciate you. Lovely One, appreciate you. Break, shout out to you. Appreciate you, my brother. Alrighty. I think that's everybody. I don't want to leave nobody hanging. If you are lurking, I still appreciate you as well. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Reprisalzems, and welcome to the Crow's Nest. I have to do it like that. It was lit. This is a really good live stream. I think I picked some good videos. But you guys are some great guests as well. Remember, no Postmates, okay? If you do Postmates, don't be delivering or walking into somebody's house for a tip or going into the woods. Don't take nothing called radioactive water that look like a goddamn cleaning solution. Don't even think about that. Follow your first mind. If it sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is. And make sure, on top of everything, to be aware of your surroundings. If you see somebody in help, try to do your best to help. If not, try to get somebody to help them, because you know life is short and we all need to help each other at the end of the day. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Peace.